So we started with this. And now we are here. Sounds really cool.
In this video, you're going to find 5 production techniques for making lo-fi house. Your today's tutor is Mark, aka Misc Inc. He's a lo-fi house producer from Germany. Before we get started, if you like what we are doing on this channel, consider subscribing and make sure to check out the full course in which today's tutor makes a lo-fi house track from start to finish and gives a lot more tips and tricks. The link is in the description. Alright, so let's get started. Tip number 1, lo-fi effects. Instead of using third-party plugins, Misc Inc uses Redux, vibrato and filtering to give his sample a lo-fi feel.
We just did the chords, the melody for like the basic for our piano sample, but it sounds quite, quite standard. So let's just add some velocity randomness to it. You can either do this by going to the clip and using the velocity range settings here and, boosting it up or down. But I like to use the velocity tool because it adds randomness above and below your actual velocity and not just below or up if you use this parameter. Anyway. And because we're going to make lo-fi house, what could be the best thing but the Redux tool? And the way I do it is I just reduce stuff, like reduce it to 12 bits. You can already hear the crunch at the top. And more shape. And the jitter button is really cool. It's kind of random noise that you can add, and it's, you can really crank it up and destroy a signal with it, but if you just mix it in slightly, it's really, really nice. This is like 100%. But just a pinch. Almost sounds like you would sample it from a vinyl. If you want to make your samples and your sounds really quite lo-fi-ish, you need to have some kind of pitch modulation. Ableton did a fantastic job by introducing the chorus, which has the classic chorus mode, the ensemble mode, and the vibrato mode. And vibrato is just what we were looking for, because if you just bring it down, because, it's too heavy on the standard settings. Sounds freaking drunk, man. So let's just bring it down. Already sounds like something. Why not add a auto filter to it? And the way I use auto filter is quite different from the actual auto filter because I am using like my own little rack I did. And this is nothing special. You can do this by yourself, or if you're listening to this course, you already have the project and you will find this auto filter plugin right there. So basically, those are 2 auto filters. One is a high pass, which cuts out all the low frequencies, and one is a low pass, which cuts out all the high frequencies. The way I'm using it is just because sometimes I like to filter it to the middle, and I was always in the need of using 2 auto filters automating both. So let's just reduce it because we want to make lo-fi house, and lo-fi house usually has no real high frequencies.
Tip number 2, chopping samples. After creating a custom sample, Mark chops it manually on an audio track. Some fragments are slightly off the grid or even reversed for additional swing and interest.
Let's start the magic, because what we are doing now is just freeze this track. Create a new audio track, drag and drop, holding Alt. You see this little plus sign, because if we hold it like this, let it fall, you still have your MIDI notes, which is quite handy. So what we have now is like the audio is not only more friendly to your CPU, but it gives you tons and tons of options. The way I like to use is to treat this now as I would use any sample. So let's just close your eyes and think about, okay, this is a YouTube sample now, and you can't redo it. So let's start by resampling it. And the way we do it was we just put it down like 5 semitones. it already has a mood, man. And the beautiful thing about audio is now you can just click Command E, slice things like madness. Maybe reverse it. That's another cool trick. You can reverse your stuff. Oh, and now it leads beautiful into the next section. If you hear this little click, that's because the phase is not at 0. If you see this, the way you do it, put on mini fades, and that way it's zeroing here and goes back up. Sometimes you need the fade to be a little bit longer. If you're using loop mode here, instead of shortening your clips, you can just easily scan through your whole file.
Tip number 3, creative processing. Once the sample is chopped, Misc Inc uses additional creative processing effects to achieve a great vibe. He compensates for the frequencies lost by filtering with an OTT, adds compression, saturation, delay, and the bandpass style EQ.
For all you Ableton users, or every producer should know this tool, OTT, over the top compression. Listen to it on full amount, like 100% dry and wet. Damn, squeezes everything. So this is a cool effect, but you want to just mix it in. Boring. Really. And some glue compression just to catch some peaks. Let's add some distortion to it. And the way I'm using it is, we don't need all those knobs. This one macro pushes the drive and reduces the output just because we want to maintain the gain staging. I think that could be even more delay. Still sounds a little bit low, so why not reduce everything? So we started this lesson with this. And now we are here. Sounds really cool.
Tip number 4, drum programming. In this case, Mark uses only the Core 909 drum rack for his drums. Here he presents his drum programming techniques, from sketching the fundamentals through applying grooves up to finishing touches with velocity adjustment.
So, the way I usually start my drums is by using a drum rack. And we just use the 909 Core kit because 909 is like the most famous drum kit for house. So let's just simply start with the bass drum. And bass drum is pretty much self-explanatory. Let's just copy the 4 to the floor groove here. And a really popular trick in lo-fi house and general, like this really old schoolish kind of house, is to have a double kick at the end of like 8 bars or even 4 bars. So we end the phrase of yeah. So now let's add a clap. That's pretty easy as well. Let's go with the clap and make this even more interesting by maybe adding. Yeah. Grooves are essentially shifting your notes from left to right. So let's have a look on a clean drum rack just to show you the effect of groove, and then I'll show you why I'm doing it differently. We have like 16th notes here. Straight 16th notes. If we browse grooves, we have a lot of grooves here, and we selected this one here. You can just drag and drop those into your groove pool if you want. If you can't find it, you have this little button here, those little 2 waves. That's the groove pool. And we selected. Now if we double click the clip, you can see in this little groove area here that we have this groove selected. And now listen to it without. And listen to it when I'm activating the groove. So we have this. Now let's just add a hi-hat, like an open hi-hat, and those open hi-hats go just straight to the offbeat. Like you have the kick and then that's like the basic house groove. We can even layer that with the ride. You know, if you click the little keys here, you can select all the notes in the line and just adjust the velocity of everything. Pretty easy. And you can see here, I'm already playing around with velocities. So to add even a little bit more groove, because you can achieve the groove by loudness differences and by imperfections in the overall groove. You can increase the loudness. And it's getting somewhere.
Tip number 5, vocal bed. A great technique of creating background drone type sounds is by using your own voice. Misc Inc records a long vocal sample and processes it to create a lush tone which sits behind all the other instruments.
You have a really powerful plugin, guys. It has the potential to be the really best thing you can do in Ableton. It will be a life changer, not just in Ableton, but it's your voice. So, I'm not a singer, but what I like to do is just play around with my voice. And I wanted to do something like a vocal bed, like something like a pad. So let's just lay that down. And for a pad, I'm aiming for a consistent note. Okay, so let's get rid of this part and get rid of this part. So we have a D, and because we are in B, let's just pitch it down. That's a C, that's a B. And now let's warp this thing, put it on complex. And let's just, you know, for this vocal bed, this is like, it works in theory, but it sounds, you know, it sounds like a cheesy like pop vocal or something. So we just kind of want to shape it with an EQ. Also put a lot of reverb on it, so it kind of gets left and right, and put on a chorus as well. You know, with EQ and compression and stuff, you can get really creative shaping sounds, so don't sleep on that.
I hope you found these tips useful. Make sure to check out the full course where Misc Inc makes this track from start to finish. And if you are looking for samples, see our online store for professional packs like the Deep Premium Drum series. All links you will find in the video description. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like and write us a comment, and see you in the next videos.
Hi, this video is sponsored by us. If you like these tutorials and want to support the channel, check out our website packed with online courses and professional sound packs. If you want to cut years of your learning curve, check the PML Beginner to Advanced Music Production program for Ableton Live. You will know Ableton inside out and learn how to write, produce, mix and master complete tracks. You learn step by step at your own speed, from an empty file to professional production, as if we're sitting side by side in the studio. Thank you for listening.